With the Lions getting set to play against the Seattle Seahawks later tonight, a lot of people are thinking about how the Lions have not beaten the Seattle Seahawks since 2012. But is it possible that tonight that all ends because the Lions have finally broke the code on the Seahawks? We're going to talk about it, so stay tuned.
What are we? What makes us what we are and what we're going to be? It's grit. It's what we started with last year, guys. Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and three toes. I will beat your ass.
Can definitely compete with the big dogs.
10-5 end zone touchdown Detroit Lions.
You guys are unbelievable, man. I'm telling you.
We are driven by Detroit.
Hello, Detroit Lions fans, and welcome on back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike, and as always, we're diving on in. My friends, obviously we know that the Seattle Seahawks and the Detroit Lions, they play later tonight, Monday Night Football. It's going to be at Ford Field. It's going to be a big to-do, big game. So obviously every single Lions fan is really hyped up about this. Obviously it's going to get a lot of coverage from the NFL because it's one of two primetime games that is playing tonight. I honestly think it's the bigger primetime game of the two, but again, I'm kind of biased in that. But here's the thing. This game, as I have been talking about all week, has been important for a multitude of reasons, for a literal plethora of reasons. And probably the biggest reason that this game is important, other than the fact that it's right before our bye week, so obviously we're wanting to go into our bye week 3-1 rather than 2-2, but the other reason that this game is important is because of the fact that ever since Dan Campbell has become the head coach, the Lions have played the Seahawks 3 straight times, 3 straight years. And every single time we've lost. But I also know this. For many Lions fans, the whole issue with the Seattle Seahawks, it goes much further back than just the Dan Campbell era. To put it into perspective here, the Lions have not beaten the Seattle Seahawks since 2012. And between 2012 to now, the Lions and Seahawks have played 6 times. So that means we've lost 6 straight games in a row to the Seahawks. I would just put this rather bluntly. That's getting rather old. It's getting rather ridiculous. Now, needless to say, this has led Lions fans in some parts to naming the Seattle Seahawks kind of like an unofficial rival, because obviously you have your division rivals, which for the Lions are the Packers, Vikings, and Bears. But the Seahawks have been such a thorn in the Lions, paw, so to speak, that it's like, okay, you guys have become such an issue, we might as well call you guys unofficial rivals because we haven't had a chance to beat you guys in a while, and it's about time that we were due for one. So what I'm trying to get at here is that, obviously all that's going on. But in my honest opinion, despite the lengthy time since the Lions' last victory against the Seahawks, I believe that the Seattle Seahawks are going to lose to the Detroit Lions. And here's the reason why I think that. There's 2 reasons which are going to lead me into a whole other plethora of reasons. Here's the first reason why I think the Lions will win against the Seattle Seahawks. Number 1, over the last 2 years that we've played the Seattle Seahawks, we have literally come within a proverbial whisker of beating them both times. Think about it. Last year we went to overtime and we lost on a touchdown. And the year before that we lost by a field goal. So we've literally been right there to beat them. And I'm telling you this right now. The Lions obviously have a great memory because they remember stuff from, years back. And I guarantee you this. They understand the significance and the importance of this game better than we, the fans, do. And I guarantee you this. They're aching for a chance to get this over, this nonsense over about the Seattle Seahawks. But the primary reason why I think the Lions have a really good shot of beating the Seattle Seahawks on Monday night is this. We have to go back again to those 2 games that I've been talking about. In those 2 games, the defense was absolutely ridiculously bad. In the first game that we played, so in 2022, the defense all around was bad. There was virtually nothing of salvation from that, defense that we could use because that defense was just downright hellish. It was bad. But last year, the pass defense was the only thing that was the problem. The run defense actually was really damn good. Now, why I'm bringing that up is because now, as we go into this game in 2024, the run defense is still as good as ever. And the pass defense has taken a substantial, jump up compared to where it was last year. So it's my belief that because the defense has made strides, the Lions will achieve victory over the Seahawks, like I said. And here are what I would call my steps. Some people like to call them keys to victory, whatever you would prefer to go with. Here are my steps on how the Lions will go about achieving that goal. And I have 4 different steps. The first step is probably the most easiest and most basic one we've got. Ground and pound. Run the ball to ever-living death. Here's why I'm saying this. I've talked about it over the course of this week, but when you take a look at who the Seattle Seahawks have played, they have played the Broncos, the Patriots, and the Dolphins. If you take a look at every single team that they've placed, they have not faced an offensive line unit as dominant as ours in either run or pass protection. And furthermore, on top of that, the Seattle Seahawks have not faced any real top-end running back talent either. When you put those two things together, our dominant offensive line and the fact that we've got 2 really great running backs, I'm telling you, the Seattle Seahawks defense will be very ill-prepared, especially due to the fact that their defensive line is missing a lot of key players. Because let's think about this. When you take a look at who the Seattle Seahawks have played as far as the best running back from a production standpoint, that was the Patriots' Antonio Gibson. In that game, Gibson had 11 rushes for 96 yards for 8.7 a pop. That's a pretty damn good day on the ground. But what I find curious is you go to the game prior to that one, and then the game after that one, Gibson literally disappears. The game prior to it, he only had 5 rushes for 29 yards, almost 6 in average, but was hardly used. And then the next game, he had 7 rushes, or the third game, so the game after the Seattle Seahawks, 7 rushes for 18 yards, 2.6 in average. So okay, here's why I find that curious. How in the thunder do you go from having such a great day against the Seattle Seahawks and then you all of a sudden just disappear in the game before and after that? That to me tells me that there's something off here. Something about this is not making a whole lot of sense. So for me, what I'm trying to think about this as is that Gibson kind of had a one-off game against the Seattle Seahawks. And when you think about it in that terminology, the fact that Gibson had such a good day behind one of the worst run protection offensive lines in the NFL, because according to PFF, the freaking Patriots offensive line run block grade is ranked 27th. And according to also PFF, the Seattle Seahawks run defense is ranked 8th. So how in the thunder did Antonio Gibson nearly get 100 yards behind one of the worst offensive lines against a top 10 graded run defense unit? That to me just doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense here. Unless, like I've been saying, the reason why the Seattle Seahawks defense has these good marks is because, that's right, they have been playing against scrub offenses with scrub offensive lines and scrub quarterbacks. Because let's think about this. Like I've been saying, the Lions' offensive line is one of the best in the NFL. Take a look at their run block grade from PFF, 74.7. It's ranked 4th best in the NFL. And we know that that is a well-earned one. You want to know why? Because take a look at our running backs' production. Montgomery has 51 rushes for 231 yards, 4.5 an average a rush, and 3 rushing touchdowns. Gibbs, on the other hand, has 40 rushes for 207 yards, 5.2 an average a rush, and 1 rushing touchdown. So think about it. Our running backs, they validate the fact of how good our run blocking is for our offensive line. So that right there tells me, okay, because our offensive line is able to protect rather well in terms of our running lanes, and because our running backs have done so well, okay, that tells me that the Seattle Seahawks are not ready for that because they haven't faced a team like that yet. And what's the one thing we know about the running game? What do we know? What do we know happens when you run the ball? When you run the ball, you control the clock. And when you also do that, you also wear the hell out of a defense. And it also helps in the passing game, which is ultimately where the Lions want this to go. Which leads me into my second step. Let Jared Goff feast. I talked about this yesterday, but again, the truth is out there and we have to understand it for what it is. The Seattle Seahawks pass rush is coming into this game ridiculously damaged. It's missing 3 of its top 5 pass rushers, folks. And again, the Detroit Lions offensive line, it's one of the best in the NFL in pass blocking. Again, you go to PFF, it's ranked 7th. When you go to ESPN Analytics, it's ranked 6th. So, okay, Seattle Seahawks don't have their pass rushers, or at least most of them. The Detroit Lions offensive line, one of the best in the NFL in pass blocking. And again, like I said yesterday, but I'm going to put it here for more further emphasis, when Jared Goff is kept clean, when he is kept clean in a pocket, he is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I talked about it individualistically yesterday in my episode for 2022 and 2023. But what I didn't show you is what those numbers all look like when you combine the total. Here's what Jared Goff's stats look like when he's been kept clean in totality over the last 2 years. And the numbers are absolutely just mind-boggling. Look at this. He's completed almost 75% of his passes in that time span when kept clean. He's thrown over 7,500 passing yards, 8.3 in average per throw, with 52 passing touchdowns to a mere 6 interceptions. That's an 8.5 to 1 ratio, folks. And his passer rating is 114.9. My point is pretty simple here. When it comes to keeping Jared Goff clean, he is probably one of the best, if not the best quarterback in the NFL in terms of getting results. And why is that significant? The reason why it's significant is because Jared Goff has also proven in the past his ability to shred the Seattle Seahawks defense. And I've talked about that too. Jared Goff has some of the best stats over the last 2 years against the Seattle Seahawks. So, okay, offensive line is one of the best in the NFL. Jared Goff is one of the best, if not the best quarterback in the NFL when he's kept clean. Seattle Seahawks are not coming into this game with most of their pass rushers. Okay, that means that Jared Goff is going to be able to execute a whole bunch of damn surgical strikes against this defense, which then leads me into a sub-point of this context. I know that for a lot of people, they're going to say, well, we need to get the ball to Geno. We need to get him more involved. And I definitely agree. But here's what I'm going to say. My honest opinion is where Jared Goff should take the majority of his shots should be to Sam Laporta. That would be where he would be most wise to take advantage of the Seattle Seahawks. And here's the reason why. In the only other game that the Seattle Seahawks played against, I would say, a quarterback of any sort of measurable talent, which was Jacoby Brissett of the Patriots, that day he exploited the hell out of his tight end, which was Hunter Henry. You want to know how I know this? Take a look at the stat line. In that game, Hunter Henry had 8 receptions for 109 yards for 13.6 in average. I watched that game. The Seattle Seahawks could not cover Hunter Henry at any point during the game. So think about it. Jared Goff is significantly better than Jacoby Brissett. Not even in the same universe in terms of talent. And the same is true for Laporta in terms of Hunter Henry. So think about it. It would make a lot of sense for Jared Goff to exploit that use of the tight end so that way, oh, hey, we're picking up easy first downs. And hey, you use the tight end quite a bit in play action, which, going back to my first point, Lions ground and pound the hell out of the ball. It's all packing itself on top of one another. It's building on top, point by point. So those are the 2 steps I have on offense. Now we get to the defense, which brings us to step number 3. This is something I'm going to say right now. The defensive pass coverage has been pretty damn good so far this year, but it must continue to be sticky in this game. Let's not kid ourselves. The Seattle Seahawks have some pretty damn good receivers. I mean, they have Metcalf, they have, frickin' Lockett, they have Smith and Njigba, and they also have Noah Fant. Or Fant, however you want to pronounce it. Really, really good receiving options. So that right there is definitely something we want to make sure we're keeping on a tight lid on, pardon me. But let's think about this, folks. So far, Geno Smith and the Seattle Seahawks have only got 3 passing touchdowns. I've taken a look at every single passing touchdown they've had. All of them have resulted from blown coverages. It's not like the Seattle Seahawks are getting down into the red zone and they're finding guys open down there. What's happening is the defenses they've been playing, they've been having blown coverages on the backside, and these guys are wide open down the field. Pretty much all Geno Smith has to do is just lob the ball up to them, and they're off to the races. That's not hard to do. So what I'm trying to get at here is this. So long as the Detroit Lions keep their deep coverage, so their deep halves or their deep thirds under pretty tight, with a pretty tight lid on it, they should, in theory, be fine for the most part. They won't have to worry about that as much. And here's the reason why. Again, I talked about this earlier this week, but I'm going to put more of an emphasis on it. Take a look at what Geno Smith and the Seattle Seahawks offense has been doing over the last 3 games. They have not been doing a whole lot of down the field throws. Again, I'm going to show you guys the passing charts from Next Gen Stats for Geno Smith from week 2 and week 3. So against the Patriots and against the Dolphins. Take a look at these charts. What you are going to see is that Geno Smith is not attempting a whole hell of a lot of throws past 15 yards down the field. In fact, I would say about 85 to 90% of his throws are 10 yards or less. There's very few that even go past 15 yards. So what does that tell me? That tells me that the Seattle Seahawks are constantly throwing the ball short. Why? Because of the fact that their offensive line is crap when it comes to pass protection. Which, again, Next Gen Stats provides that information as well. Geno Smith right now is only averaging about 6.9 air yards per throw. That's 22nd worst in the league. It pretty much tells me that because their offensive line can't protect, Geno Smith doesn't have the time to look down the field. And again, that's been proven as well because if I recall correctly, their freaking pass block win rate and their, pass blocking grade are really bad. Like, we're talking some of the worst in the NFL. Like, according to PFF, I think they're ranked 29th, and according to ESPN Analytics, they're ranked 30th. It's kind of hard for the quarterback to throw down the field when he doesn't have any time. Because Geno Smith is getting freaking pressured about 38% of the time that he's dropping back. Which, having already set that all up, leads me into my last point. Pressure the ever-living hell out of Geno Smith. Again, I just talked about it. That offensive line is horrible at pass blocking. 53.2 PFF grade, 29th, like I said. The pass block win rate, according to ESPN Analytics, 38%, which is 30th in the NFL. Their offensive line cannot hold back a fart in church. That's how bad it is in protecting their quarterback. And like I said, the percentage of the pressure percentage, that Geno Smith has been on in terms of his dropbacks, 10th highest in the NFL, 38.1%. So think about that, folks. There is a humongous opportunity for the Lions to do one of two things. Either sack Geno Smith or pressure him and force him into making bad decisions. Because let's take a look at the fact of actually sacking Geno Smith. Take a look at the best that we have on our defensive line, which is Hutchinson, Levi Onwuzurike, Alim McNeill, and Wingo. You take a look at all of those guys. They are damn good at pressuring the quarterback. Aiden Hutchinson's pressure rate is 37.9. That is the best out of all edge rushers in the NFL. And then you take a look at McNeill, Levi, and Wingo. They're at 13.2%, 11.8%, and 10% respectfully. That means that they're ranked 22nd, 28th, and 40th out of all interior defensive linemen. So virtually across the front of our defensive line, all the way over to the left side, where we don't really know what's going on there yet because Davenport just got injured, we've got pass rushers. Which then leads me to the final part of this, Geno Smith under pressure. So far this year, take a look at what Geno Smith has been able to do under pressure. He's completed 58.8% of his passes, which is actually pretty high under pressure, but still sub 60. He's only completed for 242 yards. Again, pretty high in terms of under pressure, but still not good. 1 touchdown to 3 interceptions with a 53.8 passer rating, which is 22nd in the NFL. That right there tells me one of two things. You put pressure on Geno Smith, you're going to get one of two results. He's either going to get sacked or he's going to get pressured, which then means we have a chance to get interceptions. And let me tell you something. Kirby Joseph is opportunistic as ever. He wants to intercept every single quarterback he can, and there's a good chance he might get that opportunity against Geno Smith Monday night. So I'm just telling you, folks, these are the steps that the Lions must do and can do, and I believe will do, to finally get the victory over the Seattle Seahawks. So, having said all that, I'm going to end this episode. I hope you all found it informational. Hopefully it gives you guys an idea of what to look for the game tonight. But having said that, I'm going to end the episode and say thank you all for watching in another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, I highly encourage y'all to watch the next episode. Also want to encourage y'all to do one of these 3 things: like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. If by chance you subscribed in the past and you forgot to do so at the time, I want to highly encourage y'all, please, make sure you hit that bell notification notification icon as well, so that way, guys, you never miss any more content that I push out. And I want to also encourage y'all to please share the content with your Lions friends and family members. Share it here on YouTube, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share it anywhere and everywhere you can, with everybody and anybody that you can. The more we can share it, the greater the channel can grow, the greater the channel can spread, which allows us to bring in new viewership. And with that being said, whether you've been here for a long time or this is your first time viewing my content, I hope y'all enjoyed the content. And furthermore, I hope y'all have something in your life that makes you happy and it makes you smile. God bless, my friends. And until we see each other for the Monday night live stream, I'll see you all in the next episode.